All right, welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty unique, a business that turns ghost stories into a literal hands-on experience. It's called On Paranormal, and it sits right at this fascinating crossroads of history, belief, and, yeah, commerce. So let's see how they pull it off.
So this is the very first thing that jumps out at you on their website. It's a really bold statement, right? And it immediately sets up this really interesting tension. You've got the spiritual idea of worlds beyond, but it's framed as something scientific. This one phrase really tells you almost everything you need to know about their whole approach. So what does that actually mean? Let's break it down. We're going to use their own materials to really explore their mission, their methods, and how they manage to turn the supernatural into a service you can buy.
So at its heart, On Paranormal, or HOP as they call themselves, is a team of paranormal investigators. But here's the twist, right? They've turned this into a full-on business. They're inviting you, the public, to pay for a ticket to go investigate with them, to try and document and communicate with spirits side by side.
Now, you can't have a good ghost story without a spooky setting, can you? So where are these investigations actually happening? Let's take a look inside their main spots.
Okay, so the group basically operates out of two primary locations. First up, you've got their headquarters, which they call the Haunted Church, over in Cicero, Illinois. And get this, it used to be a mortuary with supposed mob connections. And then there's Bluff City Cemetery in Elgin. We're talking a classic, historic burial ground that's right next to an old mental hospital. So yeah, you can see each place has its own heavy and you could say haunted history baked right in.
And this is where we get to the real business side of all this belief. I mean, how do you actually turn ghost stories and haunted places into something you can sell? Well, it turns out you create a menu.
And I mean that literally. They've laid out their services just like a menu at a restaurant. You can go for a standard investigation, that'll run you $45. Or you can upgrade, add a seance, and that's $55. They even have more personal stuff, like a spirit cleansing for $60. And what's really interesting, they offer free investigations of private homes, after an interview, with some optional add-ons like aura photography.
So your basic entry ticket, the paranormal investigation, that starts at $45.
Want to kick it up a notch? For $55, you can throw a seance into the mix.
And for $60, you're getting into those really specialized services like a spirit cleansing. The point is, there's a really clear, straightforward price list for these experiences that are, anything but tangible.
So what makes someone want to pull out their wallet for something like this? It's the story. It is all about the story. The real value here isn't just the building or the cemetery, it's the history, the drama, the tragedy that's soaked into the walls and the ground.
And this timeline for the haunted church? Wow. It just perfectly shows you the power of a good backstory. So check this out. It was built back in 1916 for a really tragic reason, to handle the victims of the Eastland disaster, this horrific event where a ship flipped over in Chicago and 844 people died. Then you fast forward to the Prohibition era, and this same mortuary is supposedly holding wakes for Al Capone's guys. I mean, that kind of history, that's the real hook for its modern-day appeal. So who's supposedly hanging around? According to Hop, you've got this wild mix of spirits of the Eastland victims, maybe some old-school gangsters from the Capone days, and just a bunch of other personalities. And they even describe the place as a portal, like a supernatural Grand Central Station for spirits to travel through.
Okay, so this brings us full circle, right back to that first claim we saw. How does a group talking about portals and mobster ghosts turn around and frame what they do as scientific?
So, how do they justify it all? Let's dig into their own explanation. Their website has this whole "We Believe" section that really lays out their philosophy. They make it really clear that their goal isn't to compete with other ghost hunting groups. Nope. They say it's about pushing the whole study of the paranormal and spiritual realms forward, as a real science. They want to bring stability and respect to a field that, let's be honest, gets a lot of skepticism. And they don't just see this as a modern thing. They actually position their work as the latest chapter in a really, really long human story. They literally draw a line from 32,000-year-old cave paintings of ancestor worship, through the oracles in ancient Greece, to Native American traditions, all the way to what they're doing with their gear today. The argument is that it all comes from the same place, this deep, human need to connect with an unknown world. And I think this quote from their site just nails the mindset they're talking about for the modern paranormal researcher. It's this idea of moving past just taking someone else's word for it, whether it's a psychic, a medium, or a religion, and instead wanting to get out there and find out for yourself with your own two hands. When you step back, this whole organization is just a fascinating case study. It takes this ancient primal human impulse, wanting to know what's out there, and packages it into a totally modern commercial product, complete with a menu and a price list. It really leaves you with a big question. When these ancient beliefs crash into modern business, what does that really show us about our own deep desire to know the unknown?